Hello and welcome to another video, and I'm pretty much healthy again. May have to edit out a cough here or there, but I can't wait any longer. We have to talk about the technology jump. Now, in the latest roadmap of January, February, and beyond, and whenever I say that, I feel like it's Toy Story and beyond. Anyway, going down to the bottom here, we have a special announcement that we're going to the 3060 era. This is very big for the game. Now, there are several aspects to this. This video in itself is just going to be limited to technology and weapons. They are going to be adding 4 mechs, 2 for the IS and 2 for the clans, and that's what's said in that sentence there. I'm going to go into that in a separate video, as I've been trying to make this video a couple times, and it's ending up being way too long. I'm going to try to keep this brief. We're talking about possible new tech, what could come in, what would it be good for, and what would be some of the ramifications that it could cause problems with. So, as I always do, I have put things into a spreadsheet, because I'm not the spreadsheet warrior for nothing. But what we have here is a list of all of the weapons that are currently in the game, as well as what I believe is the majority or all of the weapons that could possibly come in with a jump of 3060 plus. Now, there isn't a defined, like, this is a cutoff date. So, considering that we're in 3053 right now, because we're getting the Bushwhacker next week, and it's a 3053 mech, we're guaranteed to be in 3053. Going to 3060 is a 7 to 10 year jump, I'm guessing. Maybe to 3063, 3065. So that was kind of like, there are a few things in here that are like 3069 sort of stuff. We're less likely to see those, but I wanted to include them because I wanted to talk about them, and we're going to take a look at them. Now, you're probably going to have to run this on a computer with 1080p to see all these numbers. I'm not going to go over them. You can also look and see this in the Spreadsheet Warrior. It is the base weapons sheet, and it's fully updated. All of the stats in here are taken from tabletop values, which they will definitely change when being introduced to the game. The things that I could not guess are cooldown, speed, and laser duration. And by speed, I mean in projectile velocity. So those are question marks, but everything else are exact tabletop values. So let's go through. The first category is IS weaponry that is going to be equivalent to clan weaponry that is currently in the game. All of these I see as guaranteed to be added. The rest of them are all potential. So, first things are autocannons. The Ultra 2s, not the Ultra 2s, the Ultras and LBs of the varying sizes that we don't have. Ultra 2, Ultra 10, Ultra 20, LB2, LB5, LB20. Out of energy, we're going to have the ER small and ER medium to fill out the ER family with the ER large laser. And down in missiles, we're going to get the Streak 4 and Streak 6 to fill out the Streak line with the Streak 2 that we currently already have. Now, let's talk about these weapons. We're going to talk about what I think is going to be absolutely amazing for these things, and also some possible problems and some of my worries that they may bring into the game. Starting off with Ultras. These are going to be amazing for mid-range and heavy mechs, because like your heavies are going to start taking 2 Ultra 10s, their DPS is going to increase. You're going to have like Warhammers with 2 Ultra 10s, some medium lasers. Those are going to be great. You're going to have medium mechs starting to take Ultra 10s, maybe Ultra 20s, and their damage capability is going to go up dramatically and help them combat against clan mechs of the same weight, and also larger mechs, because they're going to have a much bigger punch. Now, my worry about Ultras of the larger size for IS is that IS are front-loaded, and I really don't want a double tapping front-loaded AC-20. It just seems really bad, in my personal opinion. I think it would be detrimental to the game, because it's it's front-loaded pinpoint. You could have a mech that's set up with two of those, like a Mauler or a King Crab, and it could come around a corner and it could double tap you for 80 damage. Sure, there would probably be some heat scaling and penalties along that line, but still it can go boom boom and fire off four rounds that do 20 damage each in a very short duration. Or it could even chain fire them, so it would be like fire one, fire the other, double tap the first one, then double tap the other one, and it could be painful. That is my concern about IS Ultras of the larger caliber. I kind of wish that they would go into a burst mode, but I'll talk about that in a future video of redesigning some of the ballistics and energies and weapon and missiles in the game to go with this new update. LBs, no problem. On the clan side, they've never really been an issue, so go on you, add the LBs, they'll be fine. Continuing along with the weapons that we're going to get guaranteed, we have the ER small, ER mediums. Shouldn't be a problem. You just have to worry about their range and their durations. Things can be, fluffed around a little bit. You have to make sure the medium laser and small laser still have a purpose beside the ER small and the ER medium. Are they just a plain upgrade, or are they a side grade? You have to finesse with that in the future. And then Streak 4s and 6s, guaranteed add, they're no problem. And then now that the IS have 4s and 6s, you can take the cooldown from the Streak 2s, which was increased to give it the same DPS as a Streak 6 from the clan side, because the IS didn't have those weaponry. You can knock that deck down to appropriate quantity. So it goes from 2 seconds here, you can go back to a normal 3 seconds or something like that with it, because the DPS for that single weapon system is a little crazy. But moving on to other stuff that we've never seen before or never heard of before, and let's talk about what the potential is. We have light autocannons, light 2s and light 5s. These are AC2s and AC5s that are slightly smaller, slightly less weight, but shoot slightly less range, and most likely at a lower speed. It's for lighter mechs that are going to need that little bit of benefit in order to fit on a larger load. So instead of taking 2 AC2s in a blackjack, you could take 2 AC5s comfortably and have a lot of ammo. You just have to be a little bit closer, and you have to lead your shots a bit more. That's great. Light AC2s and 5s should come into the game. Next up, we have rotaries. Rotary 2s, rotary 5s, and these are for clan and IS, not just IS like the lights were. So we have clan RC2s and 5s here as well. Now, rotaries are like the AC-10 Warthog plane, like that huge barrel drum that just keeps shooting a lot of bullets really quickly. That's the concept of the rotary. It's like a minigun of an AC. It shoots in lore 6 times faster than a normal autocannon, and is slightly heavier and takes slightly more weight, and not slightly larger and takes slightly more weight. I think it shoots much shorter distance as well. But the real thing about it is its DPS, the amount of lead that it can throw down range at once. That is going to be its saving grace. It's going to have a lot of you're going to have a constant plink on your opponents and stuff like that. But it also could be an issue with the weapon, because if we leave it at its stock configuration of 6 times faster than its counterpart and with the same damage, it's going to have the highest DPS of any weapon in the game by far. So there has to be some considerations about this weapon. We're either going to have it do some sort of burst, or we're going to have a really low cooldown, but we're also going to have not full damage. It's not going to be like the Rack 2 won't do 2 damage. It would do 0.3, 0.4, 0.5 damage per shell, but it would have that 1/6 of a cooldown sort of thing. So that it could have really good DPS, but it wouldn't be ridiculous. It would just be good, and then its downside is that you have to stare. And that'll be racks for both IS and Clan. Next up for the IS is light and heavy Gauss rifles. I think that these would be good because it's allowing lighter mechs with the light Gauss rifle to take a Gauss rifle and it shoots a little bit further. That's cool. It's probably going to have a higher velocity, even higher than already the Gauss rifle has with 2,000. Probably like 2,500 or something stupid like that. But then the heavy Gauss is where it gets really cool. The heavy Gauss does an insane quantity of damage. However, it has a really, really fast damage drop-off. 25 at 600 meters is actually not correct. At 600 meters, the thing is most likely only going to do 10 damage. So that's base tabletop stats. It goes, the short range is 25, the mid range is 20 damage, and the long range is 10. Now, what that could mean is that it's not going to get 600 max range. It's going to get something much shorter, like 300. Or it could mean that it's not going to do 25 damage. It's going to do something like 20 or whatever, and it's going to retain the 600 range. Not sure exactly how they're going to do that. It'll be interesting to see, but both these weapons, I think, are going to be appropriately... they're not going to be overpowered in any sense, because the heavy Gauss can pretty much only be put in a side torso and can only be carried by the biggest of mechs, because the whole thing weighs about the same as a Locust. Like, heavy Gauss with the ammo load is more weight than a whole Locust, so you can only fit it on really big heavies and assaults. But, moving on, we've already talked about the racks with the IS version, so we'll skip those. For the clans, we have machine guns, light and heavy. Light machine guns do less damage but shoot further. Clan machine guns do the inverse with more damage and shooting less further. It's not really good grammar, but whatever. We're moving on. No problem with these. I maybe don't see them as putting these in because we already have machine guns. Who knows? We might put them in, might not. They shouldn't be a problem any aspect. Moving on to energy weapons, we have IS, ER smalls, and ER mediums. Again, these are basically the carbon copy of the clan versions. They shouldn't have anything. The only concern is that you don't invalidate the small and medium laser by making these pure upgrades. You need to make them side grades. So, however that's done, I have some ideas about how it can be done in a future video. Moving on to X-Pulse lasers. These are like super pulse lasers. They're more powerful. They do have extra heat. They're like normal lasers that pulse. In the sense that the small, medium, large laser have these ranges of 150, 270, 450. There's exactly the same ranges where the regular pulse lasers have less range. So these are like extended range pulse lasers in that sense. Really interesting. It's a little less damage than normal pulse lasers, but more heat for that extra range, and most likely less duration. That's what I would guess from these things. A little scared about the duration because already the large pulse for the IS has the highest damage per second of duration at 16.4 that the clans can't even come close to. It makes it really hard to rotate and torso twist and spread when the duration is only 0.67 of a second. The first, however, quarter of a second, he's shooting me. The next quarter of a second, okay, I'm going to start to rotate, and you're already almost fully spent into that guy. It's really hard to rotate this damage off, so I'd be concerned about taking these durations any lower. Moving on from that, we have the snub-nose PPC and the light and the heavy PPC. Snub-nose is a brawler weapon. It has 0 minimum range, and it only goes up to 450 meters. The big benefit is it is a 2-slot weapon, so you can fit it in center torso energy hardpoints. This would be amazing for mechs like the Centurion that could run like a bunch of missiles and then a snub-nose PPC, and it would be way better for brawling because they wouldn't have to stare like they do with medium lasers. They could just turn, fire, and then turn back immediately. Wonderful. Also, the same thing with the light PPC. Light PPC is 2 slots as well, but it's like a PPC cut in half. It does 5 damage for 5 heat, while the heavy PPC is a PPC plus 50%, does 15 damage for 15 heat. I don't feel any problem with these weapons because they would be appropriately modified based on their heat. And of course we could change their ranges and their velocities and all that kind of stuff to make them not that crazy. But we'll see if those are added. Next up, for the clan energy, we have micro lasers, which are like small lasers. It's even smaller than the ER small, and it's like the IS small in the clans. It's a small laser. It only weighs 1/4 of a ton. That's its main thing. I don't see it as being much of a problem. You'd have to boat a ton of them in order to have any real big effect with it. So I think it might come in, might just be left to the wayside, because it doesn't really matter. But moving on to the really cool part of clan energy weapons would be heavy lasers. Now these are really powerful lasers. Like 10 damage for the medium laser and really low amount of tonnage invested. 1 ton. 2 slots, 1 ton. Like, that's such a small amount of investment. These would be very interesting if they're put in, because 3 heavy medium lasers on a light, 3 tons invested, 30 damage alpha strike. It may have shorter range, only 270 compared to the ER medium at 405, and it may have a larger duration, but you can't deny the damage. Heavy medium lasers will become pretty powerful depending on their damage and heat scaling. But moving forward into missile weapons, we have medium range missiles for the IS, and they're in 10, 20, 30, and 40. Each one shoots that amount of missiles, and they do 1 damage per missile, so appropriately that's their amount of damage, as well as a scaling heat, and they all have around a 450 meter range. These are going to be incredible for mechs that were passed over based on only having a single missile hardpoint. Stuff like the Lambalinche, the Banshee hero. It was passed over because it just had a single right torso missile hardpoint. But now, it could take an MRM 40, make a 40 damage strike in that 1 hardpoint. That's incredible. That might make that mech an entirely different thing. Might make it a really good brawler. Energy and an MRM 40. That's cool. I hope to see that in the game. My only concerns about MRMs is, are they going to basically negate SRMs? Are we going to see short-range missiles be gone from heavies and assaults because they can just take MRMs? I'd like there to be something about SRMs that make them that much better at shorter ranges than MRMs, so that it's worthwhile enough if you're going to push that range and get close to take a short-range missile over a medium-range missile. Next up is the streak missiles for 4s and 6s. Again, these ones are definitely needing to be added to the game, no problems there. And really interesting one I just want to throw in, because it's fun, is rockets 10s, 15s, and 20s. They're a really cool weapon. They're extremely light, like 1.5 tons for a rocket 20. When you think, like, why could that work? They're a one-shot. You can't reload them. But can you imagine, you have that 1 missile hardpoint, whatever, I have 1.5 tons, throw in a rocket 20. You randomly have this 20 damage, like, medium-range missile sort of thing, or however their range is. I think a rocket 20 is, they vary, so rocket 20 is 360, but it would just be like this one-shot weapon. That'd be kind of cool. And then last up for the clans here is ATMs, Advanced Tactical Missiles. They come in ratings of 3, so 3, 6, 9, and 12. Now, interestingly, Advanced Tactical Missiles have 3 different ammo types, and I don't think that PGI is going to add, either they have the intention to or they have the skill to. I don't think they could figure it out, but it's not their focus to add in ammo swapping. If they do add it, that'd be amazing, but I don't think they're going to. I think the best choice here is the ATM standard ammo. The explosive, high explosive, does 3 damage but it has a short range. The standard does 2 damage per missile and has a medium range. And the extended does 1 damage per missile and has a long range. The extended are basically LRMs, so let's not have those. The short range are basically streaks that do more damage than streaks, so let's not have those. So the only really option is the intermediate one, which would give us a counter to the idea of MRMs. MRMs being a lot of missiles with no guidance, while the ATMs are a small quantity of missiles with guidance. It would be that kind of thing. But it would basically be like an LRM that does more damage and it has a shorter range. And how you're supposed to play LRMs for them to be effective, they're going to work in that sense. Because you're going to be able to get close, you're going to be like 300, 400 meters away from your opponent, and you're just going to be able to launch out an ATM 12 and do 24 damage, and it'll be tracking, and I think it'll be fine, and it'll work well. But that is the weapons, my thoughts and concerns about each one. And now for technology. The big one that I need to talk about, other stuff like improved NARC and stuff like that, doesn't really matter about those. They're not going to add them. We already have NARC. Why would you put improved NARC? Because then everyone would be like, now I have to go through and take off all my NARCs and put on improved NARCs just because they added it. GG, PGI. They're not going to do it. They're just going to leave NARC as it is. The big thing is the light fusion engine. I've made videos on this before. My mind has changed multiple times on the topic. The light fusion engine is 50% of the weight savings compared to the XL. So while the XL is the big saving, this would be half that saving. However, it has the clan damage profile, so you can lose a side torso and keep going. It fixes like 70% of the problem, 75% of the problem, because it fixes the durability issue. However, it still lacks on the tonnage issue, where the XL engine didn't do the durability, but it matched with the tonnage, and the standard does the durability, but way behind on the tonnage. So it's better. It's not the best. I personally think we should just fix the XL engine and put this silliness that has persisted in Battletech to this day and just squash it. But it's better, and it will be an improvement, and a lot of IS mechs will be stronger because of it. But that is going to be it for this video. That was weapons and technology. In the future, I will talk about the different mechs that are possibly could be coming from this, and what I would love to see, as well as several videos talking about how they can change the weaponry around and standardize things before they add a whole bunch and have some issues. But that'll be it for me. Thanks for watching, and good hunting.